all this. Oh wow, hello and welcome. That was wonderful. Stream starts here, everyone. This that's an adventure. That was quite the adventure, but it's done. We're up, we're running. Let me drop the link to CYTube so that anyone who wants to can come join us. Oh, and I see John just did that, so let me pin John's comment. Thank you.
It was almost exciting as the episode we're about to watch.
Oh, yes. But you know what? At least this episode has a very special guest star of William Shatner in it. And they actually did a really funny trailer for this episode in which, or I shouldn't say funny, they did a good trailer in which it starts off talking about how he once captained a starship. Now he's going to go where no Federation captain has gone before. Under the sea. And they do this great transition from the Star Trek theme into the SeaQuest theme. So, you know, props where props are due. That was a good job they did there. Oh my goodness. And everyone, I really do appreciate y'all hanging out with us for the past how many minutes have we been doing this now? Too many?
20, 30 minutes. Yeah.
20 minutes. Oh my goodness. I apologize, everyone. Let's get started. As always, the way this works, you can go to the link that is pinned in the top of the live chat over there. And what they'll do is syncs up all of our watch time in a screening room so that you can see exactly what we're seeing when we're seeing it. If you're watching this at some point in the future, you will not be able to watch this episode in my screening room. This is only valid while this stream is active. So if you watch in the future, you need to go to peacocktv.com, sign up for one of their free accounts, and there you can watch this episode along with all the episodes of SeaQuest DSV as well as SeaQuest DSV 2032 when we get there. So that's how this works. John and I will be providing commentary telling what's going on in each as the show progresses and our thoughts about some things as it pops up. If you are only on a cell phone, you can't go to our screening room and see us at the same time. We will be providing clips of the episode down below. Those clips are provided just for reference to give you some context as we talk about what's going on. And with all that, I think we have given everyone more than enough time as we get this going. So let's jump into this episode, shall we? People in the future, if you want to sync up your watches, I'm going to hit the play button over in the screening room in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 now. And hopefully I at very least have my Windows audio set up so that no one is hearing the Tonight on SeaQuest. Which I'm just going to go an extra. So this is a really weird thing that SeaQuest started to do last episode, and it looks like they're not going to stop doing. And that is, they're like giving a preview for the episode at the very beginning of the episode. It's almost like a trailer as part of the episode. And we see that Captain Bridger has a dream journal. And dream number 3, he is dreaming about Darwin. Darwin is carrying something, some mysterious thing to him, but he's not sure what it is. Which really sets the pace for tonight's episode. It's all about Darwin.
Which makes it a really stellar episode.
Yeah, and so we get a dream sequence. Captain Bridger, he's like, "Oh, what are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to do to me, Darwin?" And, you know, we get this black and white sequence, so we know it's a dream. And we're going through the different areas of SeaQuest until Darwin, his ghostly ethereal form, starts swimming through the corridor until it lands on O'Neill here. So O'Neill has fallen asleep, and it turns out that he also is having some tantalizing dreams about everyone's favorite dolphin. And hey, Monty's Folly, how are you doing? Good morning. I'm assuming it's morning where you are, then good morning. Bradley Briggs letting me know that show's muted. Thank you. And Professor Brainy Specs is singing his Ignored by Matthew virtual snub song. I like that one. So Ortiz he's calling out O'Neill, saying, well, you've been dreaming about Darwin, clearly. And apparently Ortiz has been dreaming about him too, but for some reason O'Neill is just denying it as hard as he possibly can. No, I'm not dreaming about Darwin. But Ortiz knows he's lying. And for some reason, O'Neill deflects. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Yes, you're right. I don't want to talk about it though.
This is a great time for an emergency communique.
Exactly what they wanted. And, they dismiss it like, oh, yeah, someone probably, their kitten stuck up a tree or something. But it turns out it's something really, really important. It's like top alert. And you find out that William Shatner has escaped from prison. He's like one of the most heinous criminals in the world. Killed lots of people. And it's so interesting, as we're getting all this information, the person they got to do it, he's very wooden in his delivery, to the point that I thought this was supposed to be a bad, AI program, like an automated voice kind of thing. Kind of if you got a phone answering system that had a virtual reality aspect to it. So you had a little AI sitting there and at the tone, please press 1 to talk to maintenance. Press 2 to talk to our supervisors. And of course, the supervisor is just a little more refined AI or something.
Now the doctor's with sorry.
No, go ahead.
Say the doctor's with dolphin guy doing some kind of weird virtual reality type thing in a chair.
Yes, she is very excited about this experience too. That she feels as if she was really swimming with the dolphin. So we see this really cheap 8-inch, 12-inch TV sitting in front of her, and it's just so immersive. And the dolphin guy goes in for a kiss while she's really immersed into this. But
then suddenly they get attacked by Airwolf.
Yeah. And this virtual reality is so immersive that she is oblivious to it. She's just like, oh yes, so amazing. But the dolphin guy, he pulls her down and they get undercover as Shatner. I think he came out of the helicopter. The shot wasn't too well edited, but I'm pretty sure he opened fire and then exited the helicopter. And he's musing to himself that this is wrong, this isn't the right place.
True Shatnerian
fashion. Yes. He gets a lot of great just cheese it up lines in this episode. He's like, I like to announce my entrances. And he, just in case there's someone who could return the fire bit, basically. But John, I think that this episode is suffering from what you mentioned last week, that these are aired somewhat out of order. Because in this episode,
I got that feeling as well.
Yeah, Wes Phelan is kind of, flirtatious and interested in the dolphin guy. But we saw just a couple episodes ago when Bridger, handed in his resignation, she and him had a moment. And it seemed like they were kind of building something up there. So it seems like this one, and also, like you talked about, that Admiral Noyce, he gets a promotion in one of the last 4 episodes we still have left for this season, I believe you said.
Yes.
And it seems like he already has that promotion. So I'll be interested to see that episode whenever it comes up. The one that kind of reshuffles these 3-4 episodes right here at the end, or close to the end.
Yeah, I think actually it's next week. It's the episode where he gets his new position.
And Monty Foley was saying that that's a budget, John Cleese. Yeah, just about. And Professor Brainy specs, why is Airwolf attacking? He wanted to let everyone know he was here.
Well, I actually looked it up. Apparently that is really Airwolf attacking. It's the same helicopter.
It really is. That's great. And then this is one of the lines I was talking about. The cheesing it up. Shatner is talking about awake. You know, these dreams in which we dreams. I've accepted that if you kill me, so what? You know, I've killed millions. What does it matter if you kill one? And he's just like crazy musing to himself. I wonder if he was even given lines for the sequence, or if they just said, you know, you are a mass murderer of a Eastern European country. So just like whatever you want to say, really lean into this idea that you've been having these dreams. Dreams are important, and you're a mass murderer, and just go
full Shatner.
Yes, because that is what we get, full Shatner right there. And so Ford's gonna give a quick summary of, you know, or not summary, but he kind of shows some footage of what Shatner's been doing. So Teslov is an anarchist, and they're trying to overthrow all governments. And they're talking about how in the Eastern Europe, there's been tons of persecution. They were fully ready for this kind of person, that they were persecuting Christians, Muslims, gypsies, just everybody. And then Teslov, William Shatner's character, showed up, and now he's bringing anarchy into the mix. But his basic goal at this point is just to stay free long enough to marshal an army to his cause. He's been jumping from continent to continent, and Ford is extremely upset by something. And Bridger asks him, like, what's you seem especially sensitive to this, and you find out that one of Teslov's principles was an ethnic cleansing based on skin color. And I think that's an interesting thing. They touch very lightly on this, and I would have liked to see them delve into it more. But they touch into the idea of it's possible that you are too close to an issue to make good judgment calls. And Ford definitely has some of these issues where he is really too close to it. But they don't quite go all the way into that plot line.
I've kind of mentioned the idea before, like when Bridger was trying to rescue his buddy who was an astronaut. I guess in the long run, they're all professionals, so they're able to put their feelings aside as necessary.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things about Shatner's character is that he wants dolphins, all the dolphins, and he wants to train them to control the strait in the Baltic Sea, so that no ships can come there. That he'll attach torpedoes to them, and the dolphins will be able to blow up ships, basically. And Dr. Westphalen, this is insane. Dolphins can't do that. And Shatner claims that they did this in Vietnam, where the dolphins had a dart attached to their beak, whatever it was, and it was full of CO2, and they would actually swim up and inject the dart into swimmers, causing them to asphyxiate, even though they weren't underwater at that point. The CO2 would fill the bloodstream and they die. Which I don't know if that's historically accurate. I meant to look it up, but I didn't have a chance.
I'll have to check on that one.
But here we see Shatner's son, Teslov's son. He goes, "This is my heir and my curse." And Wes Phelan is just horrified. My curse? He's a little boy. How could you call him that? And it turns out that the boy is completely mute. Can't say a thing. And you find out that Shatner's character has also been having dreams from Darwin. That in his dreams he sees this dolphin swimming toward him carrying something, and he believes that somehow the dolphin holds the key to his son's recovery. And so Dr. Wes Phelan is, bonding with the son here. And at first Shatner's character is like, "Don't touch my son." And Wes Phelan convinces him, like, let me help him. We could help fight your curse with you. And what she does is, at one point, just before all this, the dolphin guy that we saw in episode 2, and again a little bit later on, he said, I can't do this. I can't be part of this. If you're going to have to kill me, so be it, but I can't be a part of this. And so Dr. Wes Phelan says, "We can make a deal. You spare Dolphin Guy's life, I'll help your son." And Bradley's saying it's not Shatner if he doesn't ham it up for everything he's got. That's true. Shatner is great. I loved him in his Twilight Zone episodes.
You had a chance to look at the bottom of the view screen when Shatner's on there. I don't know if it was just that one scene or not.
Oh, what did I miss on it?
Oh, on the bottom of the view screen, it has the Registry of the Enterprise.
Oh, that's great. I missed that completely.
I got a picture of it. I can put that in the chat if anyone wants to look at it.
Yeah. So here we see Admiral Paris / Admiral Noyes / president of the UEO. Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, basically, yes.
He kind of looks like he's the president of the UEO now. But he is really pissed off. And I think rightfully so. This goes back to something I talked about in the first couple episodes. That Bridger almost has too much power with the SeaQuest. And here we see that he accepted to bring the murder on board. He said, "Yeah, we'll bring you on." Didn't even try to negotiate, just said, "Yes, we're going to do it." And Admiral Noyes is saying this isn't appropriate. You don't just going to unilaterally make this decision. And Bridger kind of brushes him off. "I'm going to do it anyway." It's almost how that conversation goes. Oh gosh, so here we get a wonderful bunch of technobabble. Ortiz, Lewis, and Raimi's character, O'Neill. They have built a hologram AI chamber for Darwin. And the way it's going to work is that they say that when a dolphin does its clicking noises and swishes its tail in the water, that creates an electrical current. And not only does it create a very small electrical current, the way they move their tail is actually somehow linked to communication itself. And that by going into this special chamber they built for Darwin, they're going to be able to project the images he's thinking onto the dry ice hologram machine, like Bridger has in his quarters. And he's talking about how, look, the program I wrote takes these images and it translates the images into words, but they're just best guesses. I don't know. So what they want to do is see the root images and not just the best guess word that Lewis came up with. So Ford comes in, very, very at attention, and he says he wants to lodge a complaint on the record. And he says, as second command, I think I need to voice my opinion on the arrival of Teslov over here. He's a horrible human being. And what you've done by bringing this guy on board is you've brought SeaQuest into the middle of a multinational conflict. It's it's not a dumb decision, but it's what I would describe as a unreasonable risk. And he makes a reference to the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner that he thinks he's going to be an albatross on the ship. Which, if anyone has watched Serenity, the Firefly movie, you will know that an albatross was just fine until the crew decided to kill it. And so Bridger says he'll enter it into the log. And he says, but before you go, I want to read you something. He goes, he that prays Beth loveth Beth, all creatures both great and small. And it turns out that that Bridger just so happened to have the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner sitting open on his desk. just ready to be quoted back to someone who quoted it to him.
Yeah, he's that good.
Yes. Monty's Folly. Why do the Eastern European names in this period of time sound so fake? Let's see, this would have been 93, 94 time period. I kind of feel like in this time period, when it came to the the Eastern European countries that we spoofed the names for in America, it was really just supposed to be a bit of a dog whistle for Russia. It hadn't been that long since the wall came down in Germany. It hadn't been that long since things happened in Russia. It had been a while since the dissolution of the USSR, but there had been some skirmishes along the Eastern European stuff, and so kind of making these pseudo Eastern European Russian-y sounding names that you'd never meet a Hungarian with this name. You would never meet someone from Kazakhstan or Turkey with this name. But the point was to give it a Russian sounding name, because then we'd go, okay, well, this guy he's supposed to be Russian, basically. We're just not calling them Russian on the airwaves. So we see that William Shatner gets an ankle monitoring bracelet, which, probably not the first time in his life he had to have one of those on. But that way they're supposed to know where he is at any time. Let's see. Professor Brainy Specs. When Shatner was coming on SeaQuest, the music sounded like a variation of music played in association with the Enterprise from TOS. I agree. I do think they definitely did that as well. And so Shatner he's calling out like, hey, you know what? Since the beginning of time, there's never been a truly multi-ethnic country. Leaning into his every country needs to have its own ethnicity, and you need to purge out anyone who doesn't belong to your ethnicity, which very much the stereotype for an Eastern European nation of this time. But Bridger, he deflects. He's like, I'm not going to talk about this. Let's talk about our dreams, because we've been having the same dream. You're a racist, genocidal maniac, but can we share dream journals?
You're dreaming about Darwin, so you can't be all that.
You say that now, but everyone, just wait as this episode progresses. So Bridger, he's upset that Dr. Westphalen brought Shatner's character on board, but he's really upset that she was at Malcolm's Landing, and so we kind of get the realization that there's a bit of some green-eyed jealousy going on. That Bridger doesn't, you're a grown woman, you can go where you want to go, you can see who you want to see. Just, he's crazy. She goes, well, yeah, he's crazy. He's afraid of yours. And then you see Dr. Westphalen kind of puts the pieces together and realizes that the real issue here is that, Bridger has some feelings for her that he's not being quite upfront about. See, Monte's Folly is saying that the Berlin Wall coming down was one of my first memories of something big happening on TV. I was a little bit too young to really have context for the Berlin Wall coming down. Was I even alive? When did the Berlin Wall come down?
Was it 89?
Was it? Yes, it was.
I think
89.
maybe it was 89.
Great memory there. Yes, 89 is when it was. So I was only like 5 at the time. So I would have been alive. I may have even seen it happening on TV, but like I said, I had no context for being like, wow, this is a pivotal moment in history. So what they've done is they basically put a portable MRI on Shatner's son. And what it does is it's relaying his brain signals back to their computer. And they see that by swimming with Darwin, he's like in a state of just pure calmness, pure joy.
As is typical when you're swimming with Darwin.
Yeah, sure.
It's so great Shatner decides to jump in too.
Yeah, so this is the interesting thing. I kind of was trying to figure out if they were trying to make it where Shatner's character needed healing as well, and Shatner was being healed as much by Darwin as his son was being healed by Darwin. But I think he's just trying to follow the dream along. And unfortunately, there's really not much going on right now, so I can't say too much.
Meanwhile, on the surface, months of warships launching depth charges.
That's something more interesting. There we go. Explosions. So they don't know what it is. Obviously, we know it's depth charges, but Bridger, he's clueless about what's going on. And we find out that one of the countries in Eastern Europe found out that Shatner was aboard the SeaQuest, and they want him to immediately be handed over to their custody. So Bridger says, "Dive immediately. Let's get out of here." And they lose connection with Admiral Noyes. And we find out that they're jamming the signals at the surface level. And there appears to be something on a wrecking ball on a chain being swung through the ocean, which makes zero sense if you stop to think about that sentence. But that's what's happening. And you find out that it's not a wrecking ball. It is, in fact, a nuclear bomb. And we get the shot of this bomb going over the top of SeaQuest, which has something written in Chinese. I'm not sure what is... at least I think that's Chinese. But I
can't tell.
I can't tell from this angle what it's saying. So it is the Yugoslavians apparently have a nuclear warhead that somehow, I mean, just think about this for a minute. Somehow a ship directly above SeaQuest is making a steel wire oscillate underwater. And at the end of it, they've rigged up a nuclear bomb. So they have a nuclear bomb on a yo-yo. And that somehow they found out because yada yada yada, there was a leak somewhere. And they say that they have 12 hours to hand him over, and Bridger says, no, we'll hand him over at our discretion.
I was seeing the Enterprise registry at the top of the view screen again. It comes up again.
I missed it. Oh my goodness, I gotta pay more attention to these. But her response to him saying that we're not going to give him up at this point. Yep, there it was, the NC 1701A. That's great. So when Bridger says that he won't give them up, that he's a guest aboard their ship, she responds with, you have 5 hours to hand him over instead of 12 now. And apparently there is a global global ban on nuclear weapons. And because of that ban, all the nuclear weapons are in the black market now. So the black market has gone crazy with these, is what Crocker is telling Bridger. So now they're Darwin. Darwin. What even to say about this scene? They want to know if they're on the right track. Darwin's aware of what they're trying to do, and they want to know if they're on the right track, because we're going back to the episode with the regulator, where they got this cockamamie idea that dolphins were once on land and returned to the ocean. And, return to the source, return to the center. And it was because the dolphins and whales were so highly evolved that they knew something that no other mammal did, and they knew how important it was to go back to the water. And so they're really hoping they can make this connection with Darwin to find out more about, the number 42, basically. So they ask, are they on the right track? And Darwin just turns around. And we don't know we don't know. Maybe maybe he said no, and Malcolm, the dolphin guy, kind of conjectures that, well, maybe he wasn't saying no. Maybe he was saying, why don't you just leave me alone? I don't want to do this. But Malcolm says, if they ever get this working and Darwin chooses to go in there, I really want to see what happens.
Ford, of course, is ready to just turn the guy over. Tired of that nuclear yo-yo hanging above the ship.
It really is weird that they haven't really done anything at this point. They got this yo-yo above their heads. They were about to dive, and then they didn't dive. And so now they finally decide that they really, really are going to dive. And the only way to do it is what they call the deep submergence protocol, the deep dive protocol. And to do this, they have to flood all the outer decks of SeaQuest. And so everyone has to come into the core. They will close some flood doors and let the sea flood into SeaQuest. And by doing that, they will be able to go super deep. And apparently, they don't announce it. They just say they're going to do this. So Lewis, he's over here, let me see what's going on. And they finally say, you have 30 seconds to get out of these areas. And of course, it's not enough time. Lewis is able to be on the right side of the Moon Bay doors, but the kid isn't. So he jumps on Darwin, and Darwin's going to take care of him.
Well, he's in safe hands then. Or flippers, I should say.
Flippers, yeah. So, of course, they have to cancel the deep submergence and come back up. which means they're coming back up into depth charge blasts. But don't worry, Darwin's taking care of the kid. And maybe this was the... Oh, go on, John.
Just taking a nice leisurely swim through the ship. There's no rush.
Yeah. Hey, O'Neill and Bridger did it in episode 2, so it's not that big of a deal. Except somehow he's able to get out of the waterways and start crawling around the ship. And Shatner shows up and immediately incapacitates a guard.
He might as well have been wearing a red shirt.
He really should have. And this is where the ankle bracelet, it was kind of like a red herring. Like, hey, we have this ankle bracelet on you. We know exactly where you are at all times. And then they immediately have no idea that he's left his room. They have no idea what he's doing, which, yes, it's an emergency, but it's like they actually have to try and find him at some point. And at no point does someone go, we should check his ankle bracelet. But Shatner does find his son, and he finds his son like clicking and babbling at Darwin. And he's like, oh, you understand each other. And also on Red Herring, Shatner goes in the agricultural area. Like maybe he's doing something, but no, he's not. Going into engine rooms, what is he doing? Nothing.
It's keeping everybody guessing.
Yeah. And this is the moment I wanted to see the conflict come out. Because a second ago, Ford made the comment, I don't want to die for this man. And then Professor Brady Specs, he was looking for Scotty. Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. So this is the conflict moment I wanted to come to a head between Ford and Bridger, where Ford being too close to the situation, and understandably so. If there was someone who wanted to kill me just because I was a white guy, and I was face to face with him, I might have some latent hostility toward that individual. Understandably so. So I really wanted to get a bit of a dynamic right here, where Ford and Bridger really came to a head where Ford just wanted to straight up shoot the guy. But you guys will see what will happen. We don't quite get that. So Shatner's trying to pat his own back right now. We should come together and work. And Bridger says, well, I don't trust you. And he goes, Shatner responds with, it takes a strong man to kill millions, and an even stronger man to stop. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you really got a good reach to really get the back there. So Bridger takes the gun that Shatner had and immediately gives it to Ford, which I think would have been great for Ford to, point it at Shatner, escalate the situation. But even though Ford has really been advocating for Shatner to die this whole time, he just pockets the gun.
Oh, that's the way we roll on SeaQuest.
Yes. And Shatner, he's trying to bluff right now. He's trying to really intimidate Bridger, saying, I was unaccounted for a long time on your ship. I could have done anything to your ship. In fact, I hold the fate of SeaQuest in my hand right now. I have the power to destroy her. And I will do it unless you make my son whole. And Bridger's like, I can't do that. And Shatner says, well, ask your dolphin. Give me your dolphin. I need Darwin. Which, the only time anyone would legitimately say I need Darwin is in a fabricated situation like this. So they're trying to get back down now. Like, okay, we got everyone cleared out of the safety areas, which they really should have given people more than 30 seconds the first time. But now that everyone's cleared, we're going to deep dive again. and the Yugoslavians are saying that they're going to attack. And Ford, cool as a cucumber, tells them to check their passive sonar, and they'll see that they're locked on. So whoever strikes first also is going to be the one to strike last. That if the Yugoslavian ships make any movement, Ford is going to immediately blow them out of the water, and that they will hand over Shatner's character at their convenience when they are good and ready. So one of the problems they're doing with one of the problems they're doing with this episode is they're trying to have Shatner be both a raging genocidal racist murderer and at the same time want me to feel sympathetic for him, where I just want my son healed, and to the point where right here he asks for a little bit of alone time with his son and the dolphin, and Bridger agrees.
Well, Darwin's watching him. I'm sure nothing will happen.
Yeah. And Shatner goes, "My dear mammal, can you heal my son?" And Darwin says, "Follow." And he goes into the imaging chamber, where he shakes his tail fin, and immediately... I don't have a better way to describe what I just watched. And immediately you see these images popping up. You have Darwin, then you see a bird, and then it turns into a skeleton frame, which turns into William Shatner. So, I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be evolution, where dolphins became birds, became people, back to dolphins. Then you see a barrel of a gun, and then you see the mom, which, how on earth Darwin knows what the gun looks like and knows what his mom looks like is beyond me. But Darwin is just like, he is the biggest telepath I've ever seen.
It's Darwin.
Troy. Yeah, get rid of Troy. You should have had Darwin sitting next to Picard during all of TNG. He's a far better telepath and empath.
It would have made TNG even better.
Oh yeah, can you just see it? The little moon pool next to Picard, and like the Ferengi say something, and Darwin goes, "I sense hostility." Beautiful, beautiful. Yes.
You bring a tear to your eye.
And then you'd have the flavor of the week come on board, and like his eyes would lock with Darwin's, and then Darwin would turn away and blush. You could have all the major plot points that you had with Troy.
Only with a far more interesting character.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been much better. But when the boy sees his mom, he does cry out for Mama, and he asks the dad for help. And so this is beginning the healing for the son. And the dad, he confesses his sins, that he was separated because of what he had done. The people are trying to kill him. He was separated from the wife and the son, and he had to choose to save one of them. And he chose to save the son, and it ended up getting the wife killed. So that's it. That's the event that caused his son to become a mute. The trauma of losing the mom was too much for him. But thankfully Darwin was able to bring healing to this homicidal, genocidal, racist maniac son. And that's
Darwin's
why
the leader we truly need.
Yes. He like literally, it turns out that Darwin was giving everyone the dreams just to bring about this exact chain of events. Like, Darwin sent the dreams into this guy's minds. Then he sent the dreams to Bridger, knowing that Bridger would bring him on SeaQuest, knowing that they had the same dreams, trying to figure things out. Like, that's the only reason it happened. Darwin isn't just a telepath. He can see the future. So the Yugoslavians, they're happy that they're going to get Shatner, and they pull up the nuclear yo-yo. And Malcolm goes, I don't know about you, but I could use it now. And based on Wes Phelan's response, you can see that this was the 1994 way of saying, hey, why don't we shack up together real quick? And this is amazing. This is amazing. Wes Phelan, using her womanly wiles, tells Malcolm that not only does she not want to go with him, but he should take the boy, because there's no sort of UEO child services who would be concerned about who takes him. It's a first come first served system. Whoever says dibs gets to take the son home with them. And so she says, why don't you take him? You have the dolphins, you have the creativity, so you take him, because I wouldn't last 2 months on your island. And then she kisses him. And she says, why don't you use your charm to raise a child instead? And amazingly, this works.
This works.
It 100% works. Which Dr. Wes Phelan, another person who would be a better psychiatrist than Troy. She played Malcolm like a fiddle right there. She understands the inner workings of the human mind.
I think about things. She's like the chief science officer and the chief medical officer all rolled into one.
Yeah. Which is why she kind of has Deanna Troy's bun, but she has Crusher's kind of reddish hair. Not quite as red, but it's kind of in between Troy and Crusher there. And so here we get the hint that something's going on between them. That, there's something that she needs to check out in the ship, which obviously is her feelings for Bridger. And he goes, well, how long do you think that will take? And she goes, oh, I'm checking. So Darwin shakes his tail fin again and goes into the imaging chamber, which I don't know why they don't record any of this, why they don't have a camera seeing it. But by doing this, he's able to recall his own memories and see the boy again. And you hear the line from the rhyme from the line from the Rhyme of the Mariner. There we go. And so here we get this episode had nothing to do with anything scientific, but we're going to try and shoehorn something in anyway, which is how humans and dolphins interact and how maybe that can affect human brainwave patterns. Which it's a tenuous connection they just did there, but always good to see you, Bob Ballard. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, therapy dolphins, that could be a thing.
Yeah. So that is this week's episode of SeaQuest, Hide and Seek, guest starring William Shatner. John, how did you like it?
I know, honestly, the story was kind of cheesy, but I just love seeing William Shatner ham it up. I think it's worth watching that just for that.
It was, and obviously I gave this episode an extremely well-deserved hard time, but it was still a fun episode. It's still, I wouldn't call it the worst episode of the season. I think that is still probably the Ghost Ship, maybe the Regulator. So this would probably be toward the third or fourth lowest for me, which, Darwin-centric, so what do you expect since I'm prejudiced against aquatic mammals?
Yes.
But what do you think was in this episode? What was anything that really stood out for you? Like, that's an incredibly stupid thing.
I don't know if there's anything stupid, really. You know, you said they try to almost have it both ways with Shatner's character. He's this
Mm.
ruthless dictator, but he also just cares about his son. I can even kind of sort of buy that by the end of the episode. After all these terrible things he's gone through, he just wants better for his son.
Yeah, which, like, you can certainly have a very multifaceted character. Someone who does care deeply for his family and at the same time is, a genocidal maniac. Uh, I don't think they pulled that off very well with Shatner's character. Uh, in fact, I guess I would kind of say like this entire episode, I kind of felt like they had an interesting idea and then missed the execution in just a couple ways. Uh, like I mentioned as we were watching it, the scene with Ford at the very end. I think it would have been much more interesting if you had seen Shatner being condescending to Ford because he has a problem with black people. Shatner's character, not Shatner in real life, obviously. And then I would have like to see more of a kind of coming to a head between Ford and Bridger. But I kind of think they bogged down the pacing of the episode with the imaging chamber of Darwin. And unfortunately, they had to do that because the episode didn't work without the imaging chamber. It didn't make sense that Darwin was giving people dreams and that Darwin was somehow going to be able to heal his child without the imaging chamber. So I get why they needed it, but those scenes really bogged things down when I would have liked to see that screen time devoted toward developing Shatner's character more, or just about just about anything else. Developing the conflict between Ford more, even looking at Wes Valen and Malcolm more, kind of giving that some more airtime than the quick one episode one off we got today. What about really great things? What was something really great that you enjoyed about this episode?
Well, there was Airwolf at the beginning. That was fun.
That was fun, yeah.
That was the obvious Shatner. I mean, it's obvious, but yeah, to me, the story is not anything to really write home about. But lots of little fun elements that make it enjoyable to watch.
And I apologize, I deleted your message there, John. The one that I had pinned. I meant to unpin, but apparently I have low reading comprehension, and I hit delete instead. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, it's about like I'm used to by now.
Just one more article of impeachment for me.
Yes.
Can't read.
And Darwin was awesome as always. I agree with you 100%, yeah. Professor.
No, Professor.
Possible Darwin. He was even more awesome than usual.
Yeah, and Monty Foley saying that you get about the same acting ability from Darwin and Marina Sirtis at any rate. Yes, I agree. I've made it no secret that I can't stand her in Star Trek. I don't know if she did better as an actress anywhere else. I think she was on an episode of Stargate. I think she was. I forget off the top of my head, but I was never impressed with her acting abilities. I think Darwin would have been a better character than she would have been. And yes, Bradley, he's a robot dolphin with superpowers. In terms of things that I liked about this episode, the things I liked the most were more the meta moments. I love the fact that they had the NC-1701A as the call sign. The fact, like Professor Brainy Specs pointed out, that when he first came aboard the SeaQuest, you had kind of some Star Trek-like music. Those were really, really good. I thought that if you're going to have William Shatner on your show, and you're already very, very TNG-like, why not lean into it? Why not just be like, yeah, you know what? We are kind of like Star Trek, just in the ocean, and we're going to completely have fun with Which really does make you think or wonder why Shatner never was on TNG or did a cameo or something, a guest appearance. Which obviously in Generations they answered that question because he was in the Nexus, but that's using some future decision to justify past actions. So I am curious why he was never on TNG. Other good things about the episode.
Oh, we got some relationship stuff with the Doctor and the Captain.
True, there was that.
Should have been before the other episode with the whales, but yeah, that would have made the progression make more sense. But yeah.
I wonder, I guess, do you know the actual production order of SeaQuest?
No, I don't specifically. I just know that based on some of the stuff that happens, the airing out of order was an issue. I know, like with Star Trek, you can find the production order and the airing order, but I don't think I've been able to track that down for SeaQuest.
Yeah, I don't think they. Let's see, SeaQuest episode production order. I don't think they're gonna have this. Like most of SeaQuest information I can actually find tends to be on 1993 style websites.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Here's production codes. That might indicate the order they were produced in. I'll have to look into that and see if I can make some sense out of the production code, because it shows the original air date and the production code. So I don't know. That might be something to look into.
Asking when was this produced? I think this at this point would be 1994.
Let's see. Original air date for season 1 was 93. Oh, but we have moved into 94, starting with episode 14, Better Than Martians. So we just did episode 19, which was Hide and Seek. And let's see, we have episode 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So 4 more episodes, it appears.
I think it's 5, isn't it?
5. Yeah, I'm sorry, my read or count. Apparently those are 2 things I cannot do. Yes, 5 episodes. 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 is 5. Thank you. Let's see. Professor saying that production order, actual airing order, and the intentional airing order can all be different. That's true, Professor. That's very true. You could certainly have something produced at the end that you intend to be aired closer to the beginning. But, studio execs get involved and they say, oh no, we can't do this episode now. We have to save it for later because if we did it now, we would lose our viewing audience. And instead, everyone's just sitting there going, why is Dr. Westphalen knacking on Malcolm? Using her womanly wiles on him. And Bradley Briggs is saying that Marina Sirtis did play Dr. Markov on Stargate SG-1. Very good. Robert's saying, I thought back in the day, SeaQuest picked up a lot when the DeLuise brothers were put on the show. I'm not sure when that happens.
In the second season.
Okay. I kind of wish there was a larger following for SeaQuest. This is a fantastic series. And I would love to see some of the behind the scenes information that we get with things like Star Trek, things like Farscape even. SG-1, you get all this great behind the scenes knowledge that it really makes things fun. Oh hey, in Wikipedia, here's a behind the scenes thing. Air date discrepancies. When SeaQuest TSV originally aired on NBC, the network occasionally aired the episodes out of order from when they were produced. This resulted in a number of continuity errors between episodes. For example, in the first season, Captain Bridger's uniform originally lacked any color insignia, It was later added after a few episodes had been completed, but because the episodes aired out of order, the insignia appears and disappears from episode to episode if viewed by air date order. Later in the season, Admiral Noyce is seen as the Secretary General of the UEO and the Stinger and Hide and Seek, but he doesn't obtain it until the last lap of Luxury, which we will watch next week. Very good. And I'm not gonna read about second season stuff because then it goes into second season. So yes, I guess they don't actually say what order they're supposed to be in, but it does seem to maybe indicate that production order was the intended airing order. Who knows? I don't see any sort of, little reference on Wikipedia for that, so I'm surprised they even let that up. Usually Wikipedia slaps that stuff down if you don't have a reference for it. Well, guys, let's go ahead and get things wrapped up here. I do apologize that we had some initial problems, but that's life. I'm just glad we were able to pick things up and do this episode in the end instead of having to miss a week or reschedule it or something. And John, as always, thank you so much for hanging out with me and doing these reviews.
I appreciate you putting it together again.
Yeah. And thanks for sticking with me for the first 20 minutes as we got this fixed. Which, what I'll probably do is...
Well, it's Shatner.
Or gone?
I say it's just Shatner and Darwin, so it was worth the wait.
Yes, totally worth the wait for Shatner. What I'll probably do, people of the future, is I will grab a copy of this once it's done being encoded by YouTube, and I'm going to cut out all this stuff at the front, and I'll re-release this at some point without all that garbage in there, such that anyone watching in the future, you don't have to waste 30 minutes of us fooling around trying to get this stuff going. So with that, I do just want to say thank you for joining us, and until the next time, everyone, take care.
Night.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, and be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.